Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay. No problem. Okay. Let me share again. Okay, cool. Chat. Okay. So I'm going to go through what is vocational rehabilitation, what does VR do, the interagency service agreement that my position oversees, the guiding philosophy behind this agreement, as well as key points of the agreement, and then a quick overview of the VR process for the behavioral health project. I do want to stress that, well, I do focus on individuals that have an SMI determination or designation. I do want to answer any questions that you have regarding voc rehab in general, okay? Okay, so what is vocational rehabilitation? It is a program that helps individuals with disabilities to become employed. That's the simplest way to explain it. We help people get employed. We provide a variety of services to do so. It can be services related to disability, or it can be services related to the actual employment goal. So like training, any kind of technical assistance they might need, things like that. And there'll be another slide regarding that. It is a public program and it is federally and state funded. And we are under DES. And on this side, you will see the eligibility criteria. So we have 4 criteria that everyone uses to determine eligibility for anybody that comes and applies to our program. So they have to have a documented disability. There has to be a barrier to work. They have to require VR services to work, and they have to be able to benefit from our program in terms of work. What does VR do? So I'm sure if you're familiar with voc rehab, you often hear it's very individualized. Because it is, it really does depend on the individual's need, disability-wise, as well as employment. So we really look at the individual and work with the individual to figure out what are the service needs that they need to go to work. So that includes vocational counseling and guidance that our VR counselors provide, any evaluations that they might need to determine either their skills, their interests, abilities, or for any kind of assistance, for any kind of assistive technology that they might need as well. We help with interviewing skills, resume writing, actually finding the job leads, again, special equipment, any sort of training. We even help with degrees if that is needed for the employment goal. So there's a variety of things that we help with. There's too many for me to list. And again, it is very individualized to the person. So it's something that will be discussed with the voc rehab counselor and the individual to figure out together. So as I mentioned before, the Interagency Service Agreement is an agreement that we actually have in voc rehab with Access. It's a partnership we have to serve individuals that have the SMI designation. So that's our main focus, is that population. Under this ISA, it's been in existence since 1992. It's had different variations, funded, not funded. That means that Access provides us some money and we in turn are able to pull match dollars from the Fed to create this agreement and fully fund it so that it funds our client services as well as our staff, so our specialty counselors that work in this project, and training. The training is very important. Obviously, we want our VR counselors to have the latest training, be fully immersed in anything psychiatric related, make sure that they're up to date on any information regarding that. So we are constantly offering training, as well as we work with our clinical partners on training. So the guiding philosophy behind this agreement is really employment is part of recovery. As soon as someone starts to say that they want to become employed, that they're interested in discovering work and what they can do, get back to work or enter the workforce for the first time, we want to jump on that motivation. We want to jump on that idea and grow it. So we really ask our clinical partners if someone expresses that they're interested in working or just maybe has a slight idea that they may in the possible future want to work, we want to jump on that and talk with them. We want to let them know about our program, so at least plant that seed. So when they are ready and want to make the move, they know about us, that we exist. We also have the philosophy that while training, support groups, volunteer opportunities are fantastic for individuals to engage in, it doesn't quite match actually working. We want to encourage going to work. And any attempt at working is seen as a learning opportunity. Even if maybe it doesn't go to a full-time job forever, or they decide that working is not really for them at this moment, we still think it's an opportunity and there's something that was learned from that moment, and we're always around. So we often tell clients who decide that they are not ready for work at that time, or maybe our program just is not the right time at that moment, we make sure that we let them know that we're always around. You can come back. It's not a one-shot deal. And that's very important to let people know, like, you don't just miss your opportunity the one time that you try, okay? Some of the key aspects in this ISA, we really center around our collaboration with our clinical partners. So we have the VR counselors that I mentioned that are specialized. They work with members, the population of individuals that have the SMI determination. They are actually usually on site at the clinical sites. Obviously, right now with COVID, we are work from home, so the counselors aren't going to the clinical sites right now. But under the usual circumstances, we have assigned counselors for each clinic, and they're actually on site doing work at the clinic, working with the clinical teams, are part of that team, having conversations with members that are visiting for appointments, just really spreading the word about Voc Rehab and working with the clinical staff to let them know about our program, the services, opportunities. We know that there's a lot of turnover in clinics, so we always try and educate and make sure people are aware of our program, that all the case managers know that they can let their members know about us. We also conduct our VR orientations at the provider sites. We do that a minimum of one time a month, but we usually do it probably 2 times a month, every other week. We do one-on-one orientations right now virtually. We are still having group orientations, just virtual through Zoom. We do them over the phone currently. There's a lot of one-on-one occurring right now, which is perfectly fine. We provide the opportunity in non-pandemic times too, because not everyone's comfortable in a group setting as well. And sometimes we don't want them to wait until the next orientation if they just missed it. We want to jump on that. So we will call them, get that one-on-one scheduled, and give them the information they need to decide if they want to pursue Voc Rehab. A really huge aspect of this ISA is that we actually have an expedited eligibility timeframe. This is big. Normally, our eligibility takes 60 days as a program. That's what we strive for with our federal regs. But with this program, we do it in 30 days or less. So that's fantastic. This project in particular has maintained under 30 days for probably the last 3 years. I'm very proud about that. We're able to do that because we actually receive a referral packet from our clinical partners. So they give us all the documentation we need to determine eligibility. So once we let them know that Bob wants to apply to Voc Rehab, we're going to schedule an intake with them. They turn over that packet for us, and it's fantastic. It actually assists us with determining eligibility quickly. Oh, I see a question with the jobs and volunteer opportunities from Julia. With the jobs and volunteer opportunities, are the employees aware of the applicant's SMI designation? Employers aware. That is completely up to the client if they want to disclose that they have that designation. That we have conversations with them. If they want to work out some training with that, how to disclose that, we will definitely work with them on that. But that is completely a personal decision to that client. Great question. Thank you. Also, with this program, because the VR counselors are expected to have that close relationship with our clinical partners, they actually engage in weekly consultations. It's usually more contact than that, but they have like a set date weekly that they meet and discuss mutual members. This is very important to keep the communication flowing. We provide updates on what's going on with Voc Rehab for the clients, and they provide updates on what's going on with behavioral health services for the clients. It's very helpful. It creates we're on the same page, we're a team. We can't stress that enough, especially right now. We make sure that we're meeting with our clinical partners multiple times a week, but definitely having that weekly consultation, which is a longer meeting usually because we're going through the caseload. And also a huge part of this is releases of information are not needed. So for this specialty population, for those members designated SMI, we actually don't need releases to speak or share information regarding those members. That's huge. A lot of times we see a lot of our clinical partners still want the release, obviously, and that's perfectly fine because they're under HIPAA. We understand that. We just ask that it's not a barrier to continue with our program. So that's something that occurs on the back side, like that back end of when they're working with the client. Usually we see those releases completed before the client attends the orientation or something like that, just however it works for them. but we do not have to have a release to discuss anybody that could be a potential client or a current client. That's very nice. That's very helpful. And that really is a huge, huge benefit to this agreement. So just a quick overview of the behavioral health project in Voc Rehab. I kind of hit on some of these already, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the steps. So for orientation and referral, as I said, we usually have those at the provider sites. We do have them still provider sites, but it's just virtual. We have some of our clinical partners who are at the clinical site, still meeting in person with clients. So they actually are able to have us up on Zoom for the members to see the actual orientation. So that's very helpful. We also have them with our local VR office. So we just want to make sure that we're always available to provide an orientation for anyone that's interested. And the orientations are just really basic overviews of the VR program, just to answer some basic questions, let them know what our program is about, that we're a work program, we're there to assist, there's no cost to them, just that kind of information so that they can decide if they want to apply to our program. If they do decide to apply to our program, under this program, this agreement, we actually let our providers know that Bob would like to apply to the Voc Rehab program. Can you go ahead and get us that referral packet? And the time frame we have with that is that within 7 business days, we get that referral packet in hand, which is really helpful. Once that VR counselor has that packet, we're calling that client immediately. We're going to try to make that appointment within 3 business days. Not have an appointment within 3 business days. Let me admit this person, but making that contact, making sure that we're able to get a hold of them within 3 business days. And if we're not able to, we're going back to our clinical partners and asking them if they can assist us with reaching out to Bob and finding out if they want to schedule an intake or what's going on and helping us with that. We can keep moving it along. Oh. Okay, and eligibility, I already mentioned the 4 criteria: documented disability. The disability is a barrier to employment. They require VR services, and they can benefit from VR services. Again, I can't stress enough that everyone in the program, even outside of this agreement, uses these 4 eligibility criteria when determining the eligibility for the Voc Rehab program. And again, the IFA reduces our eligibility from 60 to 30 days, and that's because we have that referral packet that we get, as well as the release of information is not needed. The order of selection. This has been in place since 2009 for us. What this is, it's a fancy term for waitlist for services. The order of selection has to be put into place when a VR program is not able to fully fund all individuals that walk into our doors and are eligible. So we have to implement an order of selection. Arizona's order of selection has 3 priority categories. Priority 1 is open. That's individuals that have the most significant disability-related needs. They immediately receive services. I am happy to report that anyone that comes into Voc Rehab currently, even if they're priority 1, 2, or 3, they do receive services. We still have the order of selection in place, but we are able to provide services immediately for anyone that comes in our doors at this time. So if someone were to come in, apply, and they're determined a priority category 2, they would still be moved on to receive services. That's a huge deal because, again, like I said, this went into place in 2009, and then it wasn't until probably, I want to say last year that we were able to, probably 2019, we were able to fund anyone that is priority 2 or 3. It was a lot of work, but we are able to do that, so that's huge. So I want to kind of dismiss that rumor that you can't receive services from Voc Rehab immediately. You have to wait for a long time, which was true in the past. You did have to wait. We had individuals on there from 2009, but that is no longer the case right now. Oh, another question from Julia. Is there more people interested in getting a job than jobs available? How long is the wait list? Okay. No, there aren't more people interested in getting jobs than jobs available. There are jobs available right now. There are people hiring, companies are hiring right now. We're actually experiencing individuals just being a little fearful about going out there and working, which is understandable through the pandemic. So that seems to be the greatest challenge right now for us. Is just getting individuals to be okay with going to work. But there are jobs available. People are still getting hired. We're still experiencing, we call it closures with employment. That's still happening. And okay, I answered the wait list. Not an issue at this time. So the Individualized Plan for Employment, or IPE, this is the main document for anyone that comes into our program. In terms of eligibility, this is what we work with them to determine the employment goal, as well as any objectives to reach that goal, so the baby steps to get to the goal, and then the services that they're going to need for that. That's a lot of planning that we do, and we do it within 90 days from eligibility. It's a lot of work, so we ask for our clients to be very involved and engaged with us, make sure they're contacting us, attending all meetings. If they're not able to attend, they're contacting us to reschedule. Just keeping in contact is really important because we want to develop this plan. And again, it's within 90 days of eligibility. Stephen has a question. How do you help someone get a job who has no work history? Are there trial or training jobs available? We do have a work adjustment training, which is a service that actually provides getting adjusted to the world of work. So whether it's been years since you've actually worked, you can take part in this service, or if you've never worked, it's a good opportunity to get acclimated to the world of work. So that is a service that we provide. We provide any training, any degree certifications that might be needed for someone that has no work history. It really just does depend on the work history, the job goal, and then if there's disability needs that we need to address as well. Another question, has a long space between jobs. Okay, you mean like resume writing? Our vendors work really well with our clients on figuring out how to best prepare that resume, how to best answer those questions during the interview of how to explain any kind of work absence. So that is something that we work on with the clients, both us as Voc Rehab counselors as well as our vendors. I think that's the question. Okay. VR services. Like I said, it's very individualized to the person and their needs. Some of the services are based on economic need, so we do gather some information, whether they have an income or not. The most popular one for that is like books. If we're sending someone to school, books are based on economic need. We work with our clients for informed choice. We discuss all the services. We want to make sure our clients are fully aware of what they're going to be participating in, because we want to make sure that they participate and complete their program. I have another question. What about if the person has cognitive impairment? We work with anyone with a disability. It depends on what their service needs are. We address that. All of our vendors they work with individuals with all sorts of disabilities. We just try and do our best to make sure that we're addressing those. We're having those conversations with our clients to understand their needs, and then we're letting our vendors know what those are. So that we're all together and it's more holistic, that we're all working together to address any of those needs. Good question. We do have actually a coordinator that works with DDD individuals as well, like with the DDD program. That's a newer position that we just developed. So there's more of a relationship there. So that's something too that she's training VR counselors in that specialty population, and then working with the agency, the DDD agency. And there's another, aren't you anxious to work with NAMI and Letitia develop exciting new employment and economic? Yes, I would love to work with Letitia on develop any new employment and economic development opportunities. Thank you, Jim. So supportive employment to extended supportive employment, this is kind of a huge service, not kind of, it is a huge service that we try and talk up as much as possible and sell to all of our clients and have a determination or designation of SMI. We provide the job coaching while it's funded by VR while they're working with us, and that's a more intensive job coaching service. So by intensive, I mean more contact from the job coach. So it's multiple times during the week, and then we taper it off. When it gets tapered off, we consider that job stability, and then we move in if the client agrees to it and wants to participate into extended supportive employment, and that's extended job coaching. And that is something that is actually funded through the REBAs. So this individual can receive the job coaching for however long they want. Even after they're closed with Voc Rehab, they can still receive that job coaching. We have members that have been receiving it for 10 years, and it might just be once every 6 months at that point, but it's just having that knowledge that they have someone, a job coach available to them, that makes a huge difference. So we're always encouraging this service. Sometimes we have a lot of clients that are like, no, I'm good. I got my job. I want out. I don't want to be bothered. Perfectly fine. But it's just a service that we try and market as much as possible and make sure people are aware, clients are aware that it is available to help them. And then for supportive employment, we work closely with the clinical partners when that transition occurs. We have a meeting where we all get together and discuss it, congratulate the client on job well done and doing well on the job, and make sure that there's nothing else to address disability-wise, and that they understand what it's going to look like with the job coach and how often they're going to be meeting. So just answer all those questions and then let them know. From that meeting forward, we continue to work with them for 90 days, and then we move into a closure with Voc Rehab, as long as everything's going well and going right. Okay. There's another one. Does a job coach contact employer to work with job issues concerns? Again, that's completely up to the client. We have some that are comfortable and disclose and work closely with the employer, but we have some that don't, and that can be off-site meetings, over the phone meetings, things like that, whatever is needed, but that is up to the client to make that decision, what they're comfortable with. And then Jim said, God takes full advantage of many gifts bestowed upon us. Yes. This is actually a roadmap that we present at our orientation. We were trying to make it creative and nice to look at for our clients to take away, or prospective clients to take away, to kind of see the process through it. So first one is BR orientation, take that orientation. Step 2 is the application intake, where we meet with them, sign the application. Step 3 is eligibility. If there's evaluations needed, we will have them at that time. Step 4 is actually working on that work plan, that IPE I spoke of. And then step 5 is participating plan services. Step 6, getting hired. And then lastly, employed. We just did like a cool little roadmap that we like to hand out. Nice little graphic. In conclusion, we're a bunch of agencies, state agencies working together to help individuals become employed. In particular to the project that I oversee, individuals with psychiatric disabilities, and employment is always the goal. And then Julia asked, are there both full-time and part-time jobs available? Yes. Again, that is up to the client what they want to look for, full-time or part-time. We don't put any kind of restrictions on it. Here are some resources. This is actually, and again, I'm also in this PowerPoint to Letitia to give you guys. The rehab, Arizona Rehab Services website, and then Disability 101, which hopefully you guys have heard of. I'm sure you've all attended Nicholas Love's trainings. Very helpful estimator on there. So that's a resource that we like to hand out. And then here's my contact information if you have any questions. Again, I oversee the SMI project or behavioral health project within RSA, but that does not mean I can't answer other questions or get you to the right people that can. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, and I will stop sharing and open it up for any other questions if I miss any. How does this work with Ticket to Work? The Ticket to Work is actually assigned to us once the individual engages in an IPE, the employment plan. The ticket gets automatically assigned unless they say otherwise. And then do you counsel folks on how to navigate income in reference to their benefits? Yes, we do. We provide benefits counseling. That DB 101 is a huge resource for us that we actually fund. And we throw it out there for the entire state to use it. We actually use that to do some benefits counseling with our clients, as well as sending them to our vendors. Our vendors actually do a lot of benefits counseling too. We just have to make that request and let them know that that's needed. And then what about transportation issues? That's something that we can address as well. Bus pass, assisting with gas money if that's needed, assisting with how to ride the bus. That's a huge service that we provide as well. We can assist someone with learning how to ride the bus, and then a bus pass. Maybe even a bicycle, if that's something that we can do to help the individual, we will do it. Great question. That's all I have. If you guys have any other questions. You want to unmute or type them in chat? Barbara? You're muted. Barbara, you're still muted. Can't hear. Sorry.
Okay, hi.
Okay.
I'm excited. I have one son who's no longer with us, but he successfully gained employment. His dream job was working at a car wash, and he did for 12 years. And Voc Rehab paved the way for him, and it gave him purpose in life. And so at that time, as I recall, the goal, as it was explained to us, the family, was to get him off benefits and become self-sufficient. Is that still a primary goal? That's my first question.
Yes, it is. You are correct. We try and get individuals off to get financial independence and not relying on benefits. It's not something that we push so to clients, and we don't like to throw it out there, but it is the main goal is to get someone to work and be financially independent.
Even if they're SMI?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The second question is a good example of a son I have who's 46, SMI, schizophrenia, who actually has developed work skills, but confidence went away with the onset of the illness. And so working outside of the home, I know you would help, and I've seen that happen. My question, for instance, my son has designed a beautiful design, and he's got a product that normally sells in shows outside of COVID, but they're all gone. So for a year, he's not had a source of income. And so we may not be a good candidate for you, but the example of a person who is a designer, is there a pathway that he could retain his comfort level, working out of the home or out of the home as he gains comfort, doing what he does every day?
Excellent question. Yes, we have self-employment as a work setting for us. So that is a possibility that someone can do self-employment and have their own business.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Anyone else?
What is the disparity between, like, how many people does vocational rehab serve? Well, let me ask this right. Is there a percentage of how many people maybe have a physical handicap versus how many people have a behavioral or a mental health condition? What's the kind of breakdown of how the services are provided?
We don't concentrate on the actual disability as far as whether or not we provide services to that individual based on their disability. We look at more of like what the needs are related to their disability.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Alicia, I had a question. With my brother's situation, it would have to be rolling into a really very part-time job to just get his confidence back, but also his fear of and anxiety and fear of being around people. Is there jobs that are kind of start off as maybe 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week and kind of can build on that? Or are they like regular times? Or are they, because I think the part of the problem my brothers run into is the jobs that you get, like say working at a gas station, they give you random times. It's not on a schedule, and that's not good for people that have mental illness because they need schedules and like systems in place. And putting somebody to work at the midnight shift and then tomorrow's noon and just mixing it all up. I don't think they really understand that how important a schedule is for these people, you know, at least my brother anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can work on and figure out as we find like job leads. It's something that if your brother's comfortable, they can disclose to the actual like employer to figure out like a set schedule. A lot of times we have more than one individual that might share that job. So they kind of split. If it's like 20 hours, they split those 20 hours. We can do that. We can get pretty creative. And that's something that we would discuss with your brother, the client, and figuring out like what that would look like for him, what would be best for him. And then our vendors actually work with that. It would just be a matter of us knowing.
And
That's
Julia,
fabulous.
I'll bring up something that we had talked about previously, and Alicia alluded to it, which is disclosure is really self-determined by the client. The client decides whether they want to disclose. But when you're talking about somebody with a mental health condition who has not been successful in the workplace time after time after time, it may be time to visit that option of disclosing and finding that employer who is amenable to working with somebody with a mental health condition and finding that super supportive environment so that they can create a schedule. They can have a predictable kind of, work week. But it's obviously taking a chance to disclose because you're putting your personal information out there. But if you've had several unsuccessful attempts, it might be time to consider that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how are we doing with questions?
I have a question. So
Yes.
the minimum wage is now up over $12 an hour. And I'm concerned about, how employable someone is who, let's say, has no work history and they're no longer a teenager. I mean, they're well beyond that. And, so limited and to no marketable skills, and how easy it is to get a job at that high wage, with very limited marketable skills and without the work history. I mean,
we definitely work. Okay.
Yeah.
We definitely work with our clients to figure that out, to work through that. If we're seeing something where that's not addressed or something that keeps coming up of why they're not gaining that employment, we want to question, well, what's going on? Is there more training needed? Is there something else that we need to provide? What does that look like? Is it maybe the interview itself needs some assistance, some work on the resume? But it happens, it's more building that confidence is what we see in a lot of clients. Is if they haven't worked in a long time and there's long stretches of unemployment, or they've never been employed and now they're 40 and going into the workforce, that's a confidence thing that we want to build up and work on. And again, we always want to provide any kind of training that we can provide to prep them for that employment, for that job. But we work with our individuals to get them ready and built up with their confidence. And like I said, that work adjustment training is also an option to people. It's literally in the title, adjusting to the world of work. That's very helpful for individuals. That can also go as experience on the resume, because it is experience. They're in a work environment, getting training, adjusting, following tasks, showing up on time, things like that I think sometimes we take for granted, that we go to the job and for an individual that hasn't been in the workforce for a long time or has never been, that's very helpful. But we do work on that confidence building to make sure that they're ready, that they feel confident going into that interview, that they're prepped and prepared as much as possible.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm probably making all kinds of road noise. I apologize. I'm trying to find a place to pull over, but I just wanted to quickly compliment you, Alicia. I really love your energy and your enthusiasm, and how great your timing is. So good to hear the order selection is not impacting. It seems like we could easily just remove it completely, especially with all the unemployment and money flowing down because of our, terrible economy. And I'm just praying that, there's some collaboration between agencies at the state level, because DES, unemployment compensation, work programs, they need to take advantage of some of the learning at RSA so that we can turn it into our staff, our employees, and put people to work, because it's the only way we're going to get ahead of this crap. But thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you, Letitia, for going this direction, and I'll shut up.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. It is a huge deal for us for the order of selection to not be a barrier anymore. That's been a long time coming, so it's exciting for us, and I'm sure eventually we'll be able to officially remove it. It's just, I know probably a lot of paperwork and legal stuff. But yeah, we're in a great spot right now. We just need the individuals to come to us so we can get them jobs.
Alicia, I'm wondering if you can touch on something that I know us as a group have discussed, where it's kind of dispelling the myth that going back to work is going to make you more ill, more symptomatic, and that it shouldn't be approached because you could make somebody worse.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I hear that all the time. Oh, it's going to be too stressful and they're going to get sick again. And which I completely understand that there's stress involved with going to work. However, they're not doing it alone. There's a team there. The Voc Rehab counselors there. We work with our clinical staff that are there. We fully, the providers, the job coach, we're all there. So we're forming the circle around this individual to help them succeed. We're not just going to throw them in an employment, a job and be like, bye, see you later. Like, that's not how it works. We make sure that they're doing well. If there's any service needs that they have, either disability-wise or work-wise, we want to make sure to address those. But really, getting a job is about hope. Again, I think sometimes we take for granted that we have a job and how much the job is our life, as far as we meet people there, we socialize, we feel productive, we're a part of the community, we're able to go out to the movies when non-COVID times, we're able to rent movies, things like that I think we don't really think about. We can celebrate birthdays, we can buy on Amazon, things like that I think a lot of our clients who, particularly that have the SMI designation, are living off of SSI, SSDI, which SSI isn't much. I'm always just amazed at how they're able to pay their bills and work, rent, food. Like, I couldn't imagine on that amount of money. So we really want to have people be financially independent. I think sometimes we forget that that's a huge aspect, just being plugged into the world because you're working, you're a part of the world. It's great for hope. Just it's healing. So we always want to have that conversation and tell our clients or prospective clients about that and encourage them. And again, we really take any attempt as a positive, as a learning experience. Maybe it doesn't work out this time and you don't take that full-time job. That's okay. You learned something, you made some progress. Maybe next time, maybe that next job is going to be full-time. But we always want to encourage it and give them the possibilities. I think just the world of possibilities is underrated. We forget that hope that brings. Julia, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. It seems like you definitely understand that these individuals definitely need that extra support and that circle of kind of comfort and coddling and kind of navigating that, because it's a challenge on so many levels. So it sounds like you definitely understand it. The other thing I wanted to ask, I don't want to assume this is going to happen to my brother or a loved one, but if they fail at the job and say get fired, how does that impact their ability to get into the program again or whatnot? I mean, what would happen that situation?
That's a great question. So again, we don't essentially close anyone out until they're stable in their employment, and we provide all services that they need. If someone were to, let's say, lose the job after we've closed them, they can actually come back within a year and go back into services with us in the same employment goal, I will say. So we will provide that job development and placement service to help them get another job, as well as the job coaching to help them maintain that job all over again. If it's that they find out that job wasn't a great fit and that they need to probably go into a different field, for disability-related reasons or for whatever it might be, then we would have them reopen into our program and start a whole new case. Again, we're not a one-shot deal, so they can come back as many times as they need to get that stability, find that job, and close with an employment goal or a job.
Thank you.
I think that's the biggest fear too, is people think that they have one shot, and if they fail at that one shot, like, that's it. It's
the anxiety and the pressure they feel is crippling to them to, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
my
can
brother
imagine,
has this huge fear that somebody's going to realize he's sick. And I'm like, okay, this is so obvious to everybody already, but he's not, he doesn't think his behavior is obvious. That's the problem.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Barbara?
Okay, we had one thing backfire on us. When my first son worked with Voc Rehab, once I guess he was considered stable in the position with no more monitoring. He loved working so much that he took every hour they would give him. And when told, you know, you could risk losing your benefits if you make too much. And he says, well, I don't care. I don't have to have benefits. I love working and so on and so forth. Well, the illness is like this, it's up and down. And so there came a time when the IRS sent him a big bill for the taxes he owed. I can't put it quite into words, but I have a feeling you know what I'm talking about, because he made too much. So I guess my question is, in 20 years, have you built in some kind of connection with the client to help monitor where they're at?
So great question. So what we do is we do that benefits counseling where we explain how, first of all, how going to work is going to affect their benefits. So we get that estimator, that DB 101 estimator for the clients so that they're reassured and they know what's expected of them. It has the long estimator, which says like at what time they're going to have to do certain things or what programs are available to them, like freedom to work, so that individuals don't lose their medical, where their financial might go down because they're working more, but they're gaining more with their employment, their paycheck, but they're still able to keep that medical insurance. So we want to make all our clients aware of that so they can take care or take advantage of that opportunity. A lot of our vendors also work with our clients to let them know as far as sending in their paychecks to Social Security so that they're aware of how much they're making, so that they're not getting dinged later on because they're still getting the same amount of Social Security to them, but they're not claiming their actual paycheck. So we see sometimes when that occurs, that they get dinged for that and then they start taking that money. So we want to make sure that they're fully aware of those expectations. So our vendors do work with our clients on that. Again, it's something that we talk through with them, make them aware. We always want to make sure that they know what's expected of them, that we answer those questions. We can do some more extensive one-on-one benefits counseling too. That's always and we always have that as an opportunity for them to take advantage of.
Can I chime in real
So
quick?
definitely something. Yes, Jim. Jim, go ahead. Oh, maybe we lost him.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Jim.
Healthcare should not be tied to employment, regardless. Let's just, if we want to privatize, let's just be honest about the cost and the expense and the administrative and however profit, but let's just get it out on the table. And everybody needs healthcare, and let's not make it a god darn employment thing. Okay, thanks.
Great, Jim. And Julie said, happened twice to her brother. He was asked to work overtime, etc. It was way too much stress, but because he didn't want to get fired, he worked 50 plus hours. Yeah, that's definitely something that we work, like the job coach, like I said, working on how to express that to the employer, to create those boundaries of what they can and can't do, what they're comfortable with, and they need to address. We work on that as well, empowering our clients to be able to do that, because we don't want anyone doing anything that's not going to end well for them because they're worried about being fired. We don't want to put them in a worse situation.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but the story goes that he was working for a gas station, and because they knew he was kind of special and unemployable, but they were willing to give him a job. They took advantage of that. And that was the downhill spiral to my brother the second time. And so that's something that if you screen the employer on understanding what's too much and what's not, because they kind of used, anyway, it just was too much for him. And it kind of showed that they didn't quite understand my brother's situation and so forth. And my brother will say yes to anything. He'll work 60 hours. He loves the money, they love having that freedom after having no freedom. So it was almost like it was a circle, he had nothing, he gained stuff, he paid bills, got kicked out of the program, and then was back on the streets. So it was just a terrible cycle. So under the employer understanding how important keeping things limited and on a part-time basis and then slowly ramping up, it was just a terrible situation. And he loved that job. He loved working at the gas station. He knew all of the customers that came in. I mean, it gave him such a sense of pride, in that job. And they just kind of took advantage of them. So anyway.
Yeah, that's why I can't stress enough that job coaching service, because it is that person that you can call if something's happening. You get to call them and discuss what's happening and how to address it. And so it's like teaching our clients on how to go ahead and empower them and how to best handle that situation. So I can't stress that enough. Job coaching is definitely a service that we ask all our clients to participate in, that extended job coaching to have for however long they want, 10, 20, however long they want. We want to sell that to them to make sure that they know, because that would have been a benefit to your brother.
Yes.
In that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really great. Thank you for sharing that. I've learned so much. I just wanted to get back to one question about the reporting, wage reporting. So I'm a representative payee. I have to report all the changes about employment and wages and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of, business, what they need about the business. And I have to know that. I'm responsible for reporting that. Do you work with the payees to make sure that everything is properly reported? I mean, because when you're disabled like this, you have a payee, the payee's I mean, I'm legally responsible, so he can do things, but I need to know about it. So I'm just wondering how I fit into all of that.
Yes, great question. Yes, we do work with payees. Again, we have to have, if we find out someone has a payee and let's say we're trying to give them what we consider like a check for a service, like if they're going to go buy interview clothing or work clothing, we would obviously need to contact you as their payee to provide you with that so that you can go and handle that with the client. So yes, we would contact you. A lot of times we contact the payee and the payee works with the vendor, because sometimes we have vendors that will go and take the client to go purchase those clothing, but they work with the payee to make sure that everything's cleared, receipts and whatnot is handled. Great question. Anything else? You guys have fantastic questions. I appreciate it.
Well, this is all very informative. It's very exciting. The only thing I need to do is somehow light the fire.
Please do.
I don't think you can answer that question, but
yeah,
I'm working on it.
This is Letitia. I am so proud to bring in the RSA focus into the NAMI family. I know some of you are aware of RSA, but this is such a tremendous service that is offered to the clients that we serve. And I happen to know so many of the people personally, and I know how dedicated they are to this effort. This is not about just finding any job willy-nilly and kind of throwing somebody at this job like spaghetti against the wall. They are so invested in the wellness of this person. And Alicia put it perfectly about surrounding the client. Nobody should be doing this in isolation. This is a group effort. It takes a whole community to get somebody employed who has a mental health condition, and they're just great people. They come to work with the mentality of let's do this and let's do right by the client. It's not about numbers. It's not about money. It's certainly not about money, right, Alicia?
Right.
and their hearts are in the right place, and they're very, very smart people. So I'm very excited to kind of blend my two worlds and hope that this is just the beginning of a long relationship between the two organizations. So Alicia, thank you so
Letitia.
much for
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
And I will make sure that everybody gets a copy of her PowerPoint, and then Alicia, you will send me the recording, and we'll have that for others to view because it was super important information. And with that, I think we will close out our evening.
Excellent. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
guys.
much.
Good night. Great job. Thank you so much, Letitia.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.